All right, good afternoon, everybody, and what an exciting day for NDSU, our football program. Coach Tim Polasek, his wife Jill. Where's Jill? There's Jill in the back. And as the saying goes, once a Bison, always a Bison. First I wanted to take a moment to congratulate the team and our coaches and our student athletes. What just an incredible year, and got a chance to spend some time with both of those groups yesterday. And I think you all witnessed it. A lot of adversity this year. And just they kept answering the bell. When people had them kind of counted out, the Bison just kept responding. And unbelievable game and atmosphere on Saturday, and came up a bit short. But I think anybody who was there, watched it on TV, everybody on our program has a heart of a Bison, and just so incredibly proud of what they accomplished this year. A little bit about process, and we talked a little bit last week when we met. But I think this is probably the new norm for NDSU. As I mentioned, our goals as a program are to continually play deep into December and compete for national championships. And this year was certainly no different. And we also want to make sure we move fast. Now, we weren't as fast this time as we were last time, but again, the process looked very similar in terms of somebody who understands our program, getting somebody here as soon as possible to be able to retain our current roster, be able to meet with our incoming recruits for signing day. And those are challenges that maybe weren't presented the last couple of times we went through a coaching change. So, but that's the new world of college athletics, and so felt like we had to move forward quickly. In these searches, it's not Matt Larson solely making the decision. There's a lot of people who really supported this. And first and foremost, President Cook, want to thank you just for the flexibility, your guidance. We talked a lot during the process, and you were intimately involved in a lot of different elements. And so I think you recognize how big a hire this is for NDSU, our football program in the state of North Dakota. So really appreciate your support. Todd Phelps and Derek Lang were kind of side by side with me as we met with candidates and navigated the process. And Todd and I have been together for a lot of years, and have a ton of respect for his experience and his perspective. And from Derek's standpoint, a former player, somebody who went through a coaching change here at NDSU as a student athlete. So his perspective and input was invaluable as we navigated the process. Former players, one of the things that I think differentiates and makes NDSU so special compared to other programs is just what this program means to our former players. And so the players that reached out, and it wasn't to say, hey, we think you should hire this person or that person. It was just to echo how important this program is to them, and how important this hire, no matter who it is, that it's the right person who understands what Bison athletics, what Bison pride, and what Bison football is all about. And so a sincere thank you to each and every one of them. And then our current players. Last week was incredibly emotional for a lot of reasons. And the multiple times I got a chance to sit with our players, just the maturity that comes out, that I know our coaches that are here get a chance to see every day. We have incredible young men in this program. And as I said to them, the focus for the last week and a half has been for them to continue to play at a high level and have the best opportunity for success. And so just a sincere thank you to each and every one of them, and just their leadership has been off the charts. We talked last week about hiring the best person to lead this program, understanding that this is probably one of the most demanding head coaching positions in the country. It's unique in so many ways, and as I said last week, it's one of the premier athletic programs in the country. And so having somebody that understands and that has seen it firsthand was really important. For our former players, who I mentioned, our current players, what we ask them to do is different than any other program asks their student athletes. The sacrifices, the hard work, the commitment level. And so somebody who understood that and was going to be able to take over the program and continue that tradition was really important. Had a chance to fly to Laramie last Thursday and spent several hours with Tim hearing about his vision of what Bison football would look under his leadership. And I think I told him yesterday, and I think I mentioned it to Derek when we had a little bit of a breakout there, is I could have sat there all day and just talked football. And his passion, and you'll see here in a second, is just overflowing. But his 22 years of coaching have prepared him for this job. And it's a monumental task. The scope of the head coaching job at NDSU is greater than almost any other one in the country. And his experience has 100% prepared him for today. So, having known Tim for the last 10 years, and saw him here in person as the offensive coordinator for my first 3 years. And then just watching his growth the last 7. He left here and took a leap of faith and went and coached the offensive line at Iowa, a position he hadn't coached before. And then from there was reunited with Coach Bull out in Wyoming. But there's certain things about Tim that have always stood out for me, whether he was here or even when we met with him last Thursday. And his passion and energy for NDSU is palpable and contagious. He fully understands, respects, and embraces our tradition. And as I told the team yesterday, he's a Bison. It's more than just football for Tim. Not only does he believe in developing our young men to be successful during their time at NDSU, but also to ensure that they're prepared for life when they leave here. He's a husband, a teacher, a mentor, and one heck of a competitor and a recruiter. And it's my sincere pleasure to introduce Tim Polasek as the 32nd head football coach at NDSU.
Well, we'll try to keep emotion out of this. This is a big deal. A lot of time and effort growing up has gone into this. I'm really fortunate. I was telling Matt, in 2018 when Coach Entz got hired, it was heartbreaking when I didn't get the job. But I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It allowed me to move forward and learn and grow and experience things that I didn't know even existed in college football or in college athletics. And I'm so much more confident sitting here today getting this opportunity than I would have been back in 2018. Everything that's led to this point has made me realize I get to coach football at the university here, North Dakota State. Every day I'm going to wake up with that attitude. I get to coach in Fargo, North Dakota. I think that's a hell of a deal. It's home for Jill and I, I get to coach where I met my wife. Not a lot of guys get to say that. This place, the players that I've coached mean so much to me. I'm really happy that everybody, the staff is here. Looking forward to moving this thing forward into, what's become a new era with the transfer portal and NIL, and those things are at the forefront. The only promise I made the players yesterday was that this staff, will make every decision for them, what positions them best for success, for the opportunity for them to reach their full potential, and for them to have as much as possible, okay, without ever damaging the locker room or the best college football culture there is. I told them that we'll wake up every day fully dedicated to each person that sits in those seats, to maximizing their opportunity and for them to reach their full potential. I think if we can get that done, I know we'll have an opportunity to beat Colorado next year. And I think we'll have an opportunity to win every game. This process was hard because I had friends that were going through it. I was excited for Matt Entz and his new opportunity. He's earned it, and he's earned the right to do what he wants to do with his opportunity. But I knew there was a football team getting ready to go play a game in a really difficult environment against a really difficult opponent. And I knew there was a person back here that was trying to get the job. That matters a lot to me. The guys played hard last week. I am so happy to be their coach because of the effort level, the toughness, the togetherness. It was so much like other games. We just happened to fall up a little short. It reminded me of the Illinois State game in 2014. A lot of people just talk about the championship. They don't realize we needed a 2-minute drive and a stop to get that one done. A special thanks. I really think this process was done in a first-class manner. I thought this process was done with the intent to gather as much information and to focus on the primary candidates and do what was needed and what was necessary for me to put my best foot forward, and I really appreciate that. Derek Lang, it's just a small example of you going in and finding a guy that, everybody, you're going to be a walk-on. And he comes to school here, gets on all 4 special teams, catches screens. I don't know if the plan was to put him in on that screen against Kansas State or not, but he converts the first down, one of the best football drives that exists. In all of football, it's still one of the best football drives that exists. I was actually watching that game when I was at Northern Illinois getting ready to play Iowa that Friday night. Todd Phelps, our friendship is going to continue to grow. We share very, very similar. I'm more and more comfortable around you and appreciate your diligence and the questions that you asked in the interview process. There's a comforting factor there that you were sincere with what your concerns were. And I hope all my answers obviously reach your expectations. President Cook, the topics that he brought up and the things that are important to him make me feel like this place is in a really good spot, and that athletics and the student athlete deserves an opportunity at success. On my past experiences, I think we shared some of that, and I really appreciate your intention and attention to detail on my experience with a former university. Just thank you for, continuing the process of this being a first-class operation. And then Matt, it's just information, being helpful, and at the same time, making me earn it. I appreciate that. Moving forward with some things, I think it's critical everybody earns what they get. And that's always been a foundation here at North Dakota State. Your leadership has allowed us to continue to have a chance to win every game. This is the best culture in college football. I firmly believe that, and I would be remiss if I didn't also thank the people that laid that foundation down. And my list is short, and I know it goes beyond that. But Craig Bull, he's retiring now, but and he's going to move into a different role. But the things I learned in the last 4 or 5 days that he did, gave me a clear vision of what we got to get back to a little bit. And I look forward to the opportunity to get all across this state and reunite everybody, reconnect everybody. Chris Kleiman for carrying it through, just keeping the winning going. We didn't do a good enough job against James Madison. That was the last game I called. They had a good football team, but we came up short there. But Chris has been an outstanding mentor. Has been a resource for me as far as questions on these first couple days, and he's been terrific. And then I want to congratulate Matt Entz, and he did a heck of a job here. It is not tough to sustain. It's not easy to sustain winning, and that's the expectation. That's the standard, and we'll continue to focus on that. Special thanks to my wife, Jill. The players will get to know her, and she'll be an outstanding staff leader for us. She's very kind. All we've got is each other. She's allowed me to just pursue this thing like just relentless. I'm a football junkie, and that's got to be hard for her. When I got to Wyoming, I was told not to recruit because I'm a coordinator now. I ignored that. But that made her life more challenging. We've done several recruiting dinners at the house, and she sacrificed so much, and I'm just happy to give her the opportunity to be back home. Moving forward, I think we have everything in place that we need to be very successful, to win every game that is on our schedule. That is difficult, very difficult, but we have everything in place. And what the future holds, we've got to be on the attack. We've got to be on the attack. We've got to leverage the portal in a positive manner without affecting our locker room. We've got to leverage it to create more competition on our football team. We've got to leverage it to bring in great people. Moving forward, I'm going to be in great support of the Green and Gold Collective, Jay Bartley and I, have had a relationship prior to this whole thing, but I'm willing to do whatever I can for, Derek Lang and team makers. I can't wait to get into this state and go play golf with guys and hang out. I can't wait to sell and tell the stories of North Dakota State football and the opportunities I've had at Iowa and Wyoming. But we're going to support the Green and Gold Collective, and we're going to continue to provide every opportunity for our kids to get as much as they can, with the locker room and this culture always at the forefront. I appreciate it, and you guys have any questions, I'll open it up now.
First and foremost, got to meet with the guys for the first time yesterday. Kind of what was that like, and kind of what was your biggest message to them?
I had a whole pregame speech written up in a introductory deal, and I probably within 2 or 3 minutes of feeling the emotion of the room, seeing some of the looks on the coaches' faces, in those things, and just that, man, that the room looked like it did years ago. I mean, similar faces and those kind of things, but that was a challenge. That was far harder than what this is. I thought it was important to get a pulse on the crowd, and I kind of shifted gears and delivered a message. I really wanted them to get a feel for the core values that I have as a teacher and as a leader back at Wyoming as an offensive coordinator, which is compete, improve, and tough. And those things are non-negotiable, but that fits with the DNA of North Dakota State football. That was a challenge. It was tough. And then we went into some meetings with position groups, and I thought things started to fall into place, giving them an opportunity to talk. And we took a couple steps there, which every position group agreed that they felt better about the situation then than they did in the morning waking up. Meeting with some of the guys this week, today and yesterday, that has continued. So far, so good. It's been positive. But there's a lot of guys going through a lot of emotional things right now. End of careers, coming off a loss, going home for vacation, uncertainty about the staff, and so we tried to head those things off, and it was overall, it was good, but there is a lot of emotion in that locker room, and we're going to stay on top of it. My Christmas won't be just me celebrating. I'm going to connect and be sending text messages and probably taking phone calls that I look forward to.
Went from sleeping at the Dome to now being the head football coach?
Well, it's funny. Some things happen for a reason. I was able to share that with them. It wasn't planned out, but it was like, guys, this was my process of being a Bison. I've been part of this for 10 years, and hopefully was part of some positive things, right? And sharing that experience, especially in some one-on-ones, they couldn't believe it because it's the player lounge now with championships and those kind of things. And they're like, you got to be kidding. I said, no, the fire department, BG, they actually found out and they had to remove me. Otherwise, I would have took advantage of that for a year and saved some money, the whole total of the $6,000 that I came here for the first year. And, that's just part of the story. And I think that's this place, the tradition, but the stories and continuing to add to that is going to be so exciting.
Come along a little bit, especially with the practice facility and some of the upgrades that they made around here. Just kind of your thoughts on the upgrades that have been since last time you were in front.
Well, my thoughts are, I'm wondering when I'm going to actually get to see it. There's a big day on Wednesday with signing day, so we've put our focus strictly into the players and the players on this team. I'm trying to get with every staff member. I have a couple more of those things to do. Give them a chance to get to know me, and for me to get to know those guys. I know most of them, but it's unbelievable. I used to practice down in the far end next to that big shack, and we'd get eaten up by mosquitoes, and to see all the field turf and the wonderful buildings. And I was here for the shack. I just think we've done a lot as a community to put the facilities in position, to put the community in position to enjoy this whole thing and to give us an opportunity to win. It's a big reason why I was interested in the job.
Signing day obviously coming very quickly. How's the next 48 to 58 hours look for you guys as a staff as you reach out to kids, maybe having some stuff come open? I mean, how are you just dealing with the fact that you've got about 72 hours?
Yeah, Matt Entz has done a good job with getting this class in the position that it's in right now. And I know Ian standing over there, I don't know you great, but my hat's off to you. And then, like always, the staff members. I think I talked to 10 to 12, 13 of the kids last night. We'll get to the rest tonight. Some of the calls were easy. Some of the calls were like, yeah, this is really cool. You know, Coach, I visited you at Wyoming, or, you know, you've been at my school, those kind of things. But some of the calls, you know, were the first time introduction. You know, and getting to know, you know, why those kids chose this place was my first question. And the overarching theme of those calls, they all chose the right place for them based on the right things. None of them chose this place because of a coach or a person, okay, or a position coach or their host. They chose it because of the tradition, the facilities, the community, and that's what we're going to want out of future recruits. You know, we don't want guys families making decisions based on one particular thing. And so those calls went well, but I want to you know, say thanks, I guess, to the assistant coaches. They've done a great job of positioning these guys to sign on Wednesday. And I look forward to most guys doing that. We'll find out some more information tonight. And there was a handful of guys that were like, Coach, it wouldn't have mattered who was the ball coach. I was coming to North Dakota State. And so that's just, you know, that wouldn't have been the case. That's not the case at every place. And so for me, that was really a pretty good experience last night.
You hope to have everything in place.
You guys are well aware, if you do any research, you know, on the bios and stuff, I know most of these guys. And so the first step is, you know, getting to know the guys that I don't know, and we're still meeting and doing those things. I'm plugging those in between and around player meetings because the players are still the most important thing. We have signing day coming up. We have a Christmas break coming up. We have time to position those things the way they need to be for me to be really comfortable moving forward. I think there's outstanding leadership in every position group. Every position group, the players spoke highly of what they've got going on right now. It's going to be, there's going to be a difficult decision or two or three. And there's going to be some really easy meetings that should take 3 to 4 minutes, that have taken 3 to 4 minutes. And then we'll start to look at recruiting areas and the fit, and we'll move forward. You know, I'm in the middle of that right now. We're not solidified. We won't be solidified probably for a week. Unbelievable men up in the Fargo Dome offices. And then I can't believe the growth of the support staff. You know, those are the guys I'm most worried about. You know, they're going to be okay. But, man, the organization has grown so much. The organization has improved a lot. You know, I know there was a time, I think my title was running backs, special teams coordinator, recruiting coordinator, academic liaison, and camp director. Now, you'd have to check that, but I think we've got 92 guys doing those jobs at this time. But I'm thankful I got the opportunity to do that. It gave me so much insight to what is possible. You know, I still recall, and I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but I recall the camp being at 350 kids total for individual camp. There's been a lot of guys involved with getting that thing in position to where, I mean, we're evaluating people. It's the best football camp in the Midwest, but holy smokes, has the organization grown, and it's improved immensely.
Anticipate members of the current team leaving?
Do I anticipate in 2003 kids making choices to leave the football team? Yes.
That, you know, with whenever we see a coaching change, there tends to be an influx of players out and players in at any given program. How do you kind of go about managing that?
Roster management, it's no longer just recruiting. In fact, I think that in 3 or 4 years, you won't hear people say recruiting anymore. You'll hear them talking about roster management. The high school kid, the high school prospect, the high school coach, the family of the kids will be our primary focus in recruiting. But we will leverage the portal whenever, wherever we have to, okay? In short order, that's the part that's challenging with the portal, is to jam 12 months of work into a 2 or 3 week window sometimes to get a kid on campus, to get him enrolled into school, make sure that he's a fit. Can he pass classes? Can he graduate from here? It's a huge challenge, and we got to look at our process there, and we got to revamp some things. But overall, I think it's exciting. I think if we can find a way to wrap our arms around roster management, it can only be a positive if we just have a positive attacking approach. And Dom, I didn't mean to be short. It's part of the deal now. Okay, I can't. There is 35 at one time. I think it's higher now, but there were 35 starting quarterbacks. And every tweet that I saw of guys leaving, I said, man, that kid, he was in a pretty good situation. Why would you do that? You know, Carson Wentz was only a 2-year starter, and look what happened for him. You know, Josh Allen stayed at Wyoming. Look what happened to him. And so it's part of the profession now. I think we have to be nimble. We have to be quick, and we got to be able to adjust on the fly. But the high school student athlete will always be, as good as this program can be, we're always going to be a developmental program. One of the coolest text messages I got was Cordell Volson, and he texted my coaching philosophy to me. Cordell Volson's a developmental guy who will play a long time in the National Football League, and we can still do that here.
Do you have a time frame in mind where you'd like to have your staff solidified, and how important is keeping a portion of it for a continuity's sake?
Well, I think continuity is one thing, but I also talked to President Cook and Matt Larson about, you know, if it's about continuity, what are you guys doing here? You know, let's move this thing forward. And with that, I think there's going to be there's going to be some things that potentially get adjusted. The timeline isn't very specific right now because the target is signing day. Okay, so I'm gathering information, and I would hope to be able to move forward into the new year with things pretty settled.
About having to kind of revamp your approach to the transfer portal process, is that more maybe a change in the way that you are retaining the current roster, or is it more maybe being aggressive in the portal itself with potential additions?
That's a heck of a question. I wish I could use it as the answer. It is the answer. Okay, so I think it comes down to people, you know, finding some young people that can evaluate some tape, finding some young people that can reach out, you know, within the rules to say, hey, are you interested? You know, so getting coaches, you know, on text messages and Twitter once kids are in the portal to find out their interest level and then starting the evaluation process. I want to be aggressive. I think from a social media standpoint and from a media standpoint, it might look like, okay, this guy's over the top aggressive, but the bottom line is you can't even get these portal kids' ear without potentially offering them to get them engaged in the conversation. Then I think it's really important to be super aware of, you know, the kids in each unit. You know, how do they feel about their experience so far? How do they feel about their future opportunity? And try to head some of those things off with more individual meetings and those kind of things, just to get a pulse on, okay, what kids could leave and what kids are planning on staying. And then it's just a matter of looking at the playmaking on the team. It's a matter of looking at the depth in each position and saying, okay, we need to attack these two areas, and then try to get a little bit of an older guy out of the transfer portal. That fits our DNA, that fits our culture. And the other thing I will mention is I would love for every kid that we potentially do bring in that we had we have past knowledge on them. Maybe there's a past relationship or there's a connection.
Bison fans will remember the guy pounding on the glass of the Fargo Dome, leading the team out. Is that the same Tim Polasek, or have you mellowed in the last 7 years?
I think I threw an empty Pepsi cup this year up in the box. No, I don't know if I should be embarrassed about that or if that's just part of growing up and being who you are. That was a heck of a moment. We ran 5 straight powers, you know, in a semifinal game. And Coach Kleiman asked, you know, Tim, you running? The guy said, run the damn thing again. Yeah, run it. And I think when he questioned me, I kind of pounded the glass. But I remember their D linemen tapping their helmets to try to get out. We didn't give them that opportunity, and that's a heck of a story in this, you know, storied tradition of this program. I'm probably not that guy anymore. just a little older, able to take a deep breath from time to time. Still enthusiastic, still really passionate about this great game and big moments. I think we need to celebrate big moments. I think, Code Green or the offense, I want to see 11 guys celebrating together and then getting rallied when they come to the sideline.
I mean, what do you think the biggest takeaways are from those spots that have prepared you for this head coaching opportunity?
Fundamentals, brilliant at the basics, still wins 10 games a year. Defense is really, really, really important still. Special teams, really critical. And if you get it in the fourth quarter and you take teams in the deep end, we'll find who's been prepared the best. That's Iowa. And Kirk Ferentz, I don't know if I'd classify him as a mentor. Phil Parker, Seth Wallace, Kelton Copeland. I mean, that was an unbelievable experience. And where I really moved forward was probably in recruiting, really learning about presentation. We would have kids on campus 13, 14 times before their June 18th official visit. Okay, so you can't just show the same facilities. You can't just have the same conversation. And so being creative from that angle, and then the amount of time and effort it takes, to get a really, really good player, a highly recruited guy, those experiences were unbelievable for me. I think I've always put a lot of passion into recruiting. I don't think I was always the most organized when it came to presentation of kids when they were on unofficial visits. So I learned a lot that way. And there was many, many, many more experiences. I'm very thankful to have gone through some difficult times there, because the things I learned and how kids need to be able to feel when they're in our facilities, how people ultimately, go about their business on a day-to-day is really, really critical. And so that was an unbelievable experience. And then seeing Coach Bowl at Wyoming on the back end really clarified some things. I think, I say everything matters, but he really had it pretty tight as far as recruiting and how to evaluate and how to go into specific areas year in and year out and keep doing it the same way. Can still cultivate a group of guys that want to work hard and play together. It still is really, really important. You can't get caught up in any of the lists that are produced by guys that don't know what the culture of the program is. Wyoming is a very special and unique place. It takes a really special kid to go through the work, to do the work, and to win the way they want to win. And then I think coaching the quarterback, I've gained new perspective on the pass game. We've got to give that young man the opportunity to play the golf course more than once, meaning it's okay to call the same pass more than once in a game, and seeing things from their eyes again and getting perspective from the quarterback, especially the kid I had this year, in year two, who did improve. It wasn't enough. We came up a little bit short, but those were the two biggest learning lessons. I hope I'm not missing anything.
Or do you feel that you'll need to kind of adapt? A lot of people speak to the head coach as being the closer, not maybe necessarily who's out on the road. Do you feel like you're going to have to shift the way you do things yourself?
Well, I think the more closers we can have on the staff, or the more guys that we can have getting them, close to committing on their own, the better. But I plan on being really active in spring, in the state and those kind of things, and regionally pretty tight. I think we got to be able to leverage our coordinators as potential closers as well. When those kids get to my room, a lot of their questions have been answered. The presentation on concept and scheme and the plan for them has been answered. And then I'm answering specific things, for the family and for the student athlete. That might be more to the side of scholarship. It might be more to the side of, the meal plan or whatever it is. But, we did a lot of unit meeting and coordinator meetings at both Wyoming and Iowa. And so I was put in those positions to kind of talk in terms of where you at. And so I think it's a staff effort. It'll always be a group staff effort. recruiting. You guys, I don't want to be on the front of a camp brochure. Our players should be. I don't want to be on the poster of our schedule. Our players should be. And so this is going to be a team effort when kids come on campus. Our student athletes got to be willing to help. But the staff is really going to be the driving force behind recruiting, and I hope to be a big part of the evaluation process. Thank you. I appreciate it.